Welcome, Anil Joshi. Happy to have you here. What are some of the early signals that you look in the early stage founders?
It's a mix of several things. It's more, about one's experience to, identify that one trait which makes him, differentiated than others.
What is the advice that you want to give to a founder like us, early stage founders who want to develop something for semiconductor? I mean, in semiconductor industry.
People who can, help you stay focused. Don't get defocused, from noises around you. You are working on something interesting and it takes time to, build product. Even child takes 9 months in womb and then it comes out to the world. And then again, you have long journey before they can come to adulthood and start, running and performing in productive life, right? So it's a long journey.
So, continuing our conversation with Swaraj Silicon, we bring our next episode. Usually, our episodes are mostly a deep conversation with the founders, but this time we have an investor in place, and we want to understand more from the investment perspective, like what are the kind of deep tech companies that should be, sustainable, or what are some of the early signals that founder can correct themselves to get the investment early on, and what are some of the signals that we should look as a startup founder to bring the scalability to our business. So welcome, Anil Joshi. Happy to have you here. Just to give a brief introduction about Anil, he is a managing director at Unicorn India Ventures, and he has decades of experience across a startup ecosystem, angel investment, and Mumbai Angels.
Thank
You,
you, Poonam.
yes, we are looking for a great perspective, like how the startup will lead from a basic scratch level to making an impact at the global level. I want to start with a very basic landscape or the broader landscape, like how has been the deep tech ecosystem evolving currently in India? What do you think
Sure.
about it? Yeah.
So, Poonam, if you look at India in general, the VC ecosystem is itself very young.
Mhm.
And the initial investments were all around consumer tech, internet kind of businesses. And we had very few investors who were looking to back product-led innovative ideas.
Okay.
However, things have changed a lot in last, I will say, couple of years, if not more. And this is mainly because, a lot of, policy changes have happened in country.
Okay.
For example, we didn't had any, policy around drone earlier. It was very difficult to find any investment opportunity there. But once policies were rolled out and now you see, the industry is just, flourishing with so many good companies around grown. India has also come up with, policies around semiconductor, both at fabless and fab. That has also attracted, quite a few startups in that space. Defense, we all know about. India is one of the largest consumer of, defense budget, and, 10% of is being earmarked for domestic, innovative companies, and that has also opened up a lot of doors. Needless to say, space is another one area which is also attracting a lot of, attention. So last 2 3 years and also, some initial success have built a lot of confidence in ecosystem. and has really made deep tech quite vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
I remember most of my peers were very much focused on consumer internet type of business, and now most of them earmarked you know decent allocation for deep tech.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not one fund, two fund, but many fund, and especially after government's announcement on RDI, which is research development
Mm-hmm.
based fund has opened up too many opportunities for deep tech. So is looking quite good. I believe this is just the start. Next decade or so would be really interesting to see how India evolves around deep tech.
Yeah, but then there are many people at the same time who are misusing RDI fund, as I assume so, because uh, many of these startups claim that it is doing a research, whereas they are not involved in the research. What is your take on the same?
So RDI has been announced. I think government has taken a lot of initiative, and it's not in one vertical, but I think this is across several verticals.
Mhm.
Uh, if I'm not wrong, RDI has yet to roll out the allocations and disbursement. So from that perspective, I doubt if anybody could have used misuses. Is a second stage, but yet allocation and disbursement has yet to happen. And till that time, I don't think any rupee have been spent from that. So uh, I don't think any misuse has happened. Interestingly, this one initiative has encouraged many startups. See, it's bound to happen. Product building is, very, very difficult. You just cannot, wake up and evening you have a product. It takes years. In some cases, it even take a decade, and hence we have to wait. I think same time after 10 years, probably we'll have a different conversation on deep tech.
Mhm.
Uh, the interesting part is that RDI, announcement has encouraged many startups. There may be, failures. I think it will be, wrong to say misuse because, product development does have failures, and
Mhm.
failures need to be encouraged in deep tech rather than labeling it with any color at this stage.
Sure, sure. And we had a conversation on Swaraj Silicon episode number 4, and we talked about R&D, and 2 days after we got R&D fund.
Oh wow,
So yeah,
that's kind. You should keep
just want to
talking. You
just
should
want
keep
to
talking.
highlight. Yeah, that's why we are talking on the various topic. Yeah, so coming back to like in the long gestation cycle, like how do you balance between a founder's strength and a good idea? Like,
So it's very interesting question, and it's a very difficult to answer at this stage because you know many a time it take few years even before you could see light at end of the tunnel, and you can't blame founders because they continuously keep working on it. Look at pharma. Molecules take years to get discovered.
mhm,
Semiconductor, the normal cycle of building any IP can be anywhere around 5 to 8 years. It's just building
mm,
IPs, and then you work on integrating those IPs for chip development. So it's in a good 8, 9 years,
mm, mm,
journey. I think what is important is one's ability to gauge, founding team's capability. And now it's very difficult to say, who's right, who's wrong, because even a bright student who's just out of college could be, really genius, right? We
mhm,
cannot
mhm.
question their ability to may not be a finished product, but they can really come up with bright ideas. So I think
Sure.
it's very important to evaluate from that perspective whether the team which is being backed initially is capable of navigating and to come out with a finished product. Maybe product XYG and not ABC or PQR.
Hmm.
But they should be in position to, keep up with the pace of, innovation. For example, I'll give you a very appropriate example. Let's say somebody is working on 2G.
Hmm.
Today we are in 5G, right? So is, somebody who was working on 2G is capable of coming out with product which is, resonating with 5G, and also capable of then talking about 6G, 7G, right? This, development will keep happening. So the team should be capable of innovating and should be in position to evolve to the changing environment, right? Uh,
Hmm.
Today, if you start working on something electronics, ICs and capacitors and modules are changing so fast. By the time you come out with your product, many things would have changed. So you need to keep redesigning your product, right? So it's very important to validate. I think it will be wrong word, but to evaluate and ascertain that the team which is being backed is the one which is in a position to take idea forward, and if need be can also evolve from it to idea B, idea C.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what takes to build all these global companies? Like, how many startups from the day one are competent enough to be at the global level?
So I'll share one very interesting
Hmm.
you know investment from our fund one which we made in 2016.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've shared this many forums, and I find it very appropriate with most of the situation.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, Talking about what you would like to understand is that this team of four co-founders straight out of
Okay.
college,
Okay.
experience of couple of months, max 1 year,
Okay.
and they were given a 5 lakh from CM's fund to
Okay.
work on idea.
Okay.
Right,
Hmm.
and now what you can do with 5 lakh? But this, boys, took a challenge, and then they started working with, a model which was made out of plywood, cardboard, and whatever they could do with that 5 lakh.
Sure.
And they were building, something to automate manual scavenging. You
Okay.
are in Bangalore, and I'm sure you would have noticed, if a manhole, around your area gets clogged, it will only
Hmm.
flood the roads unless until it is unclogged. And the
Hmm.
unclogging is a very manual process.
Hmm.
And manhole is not a human kind of situation to clean it, but the only way to unclog is to have a human intervention. Somebody has to get into it, clean it by hand and whatever. And
Sure.
this team was working on a solution within a 5 lakh, grant, this product. And I was made to introduce where I could see, something made out of plywood and cardboard and no idea what it's going to do because,
Sure.
you cannot, you cannot deploy this to clean a manhole, right? Cardboard and plywood, right? It's a very, very, different situation. And at a leap of faith, we decided to back this team,
Okay.
wrote a small check of around 70 odd lakhs along with a couple of known
Hmm.
name. And today, they have, some of the marquee investor on their side. This team from 2016, from four co-founder and two intern, today they are 400 people
Okay.
in 10 years time. And out of this 400 people, almost 60 people are in R&D.
Okay.
Right? It's a small company. It doesn't have, millions of turnover, but a modest turnover. I'm sure this year they will touch three digit crore kind of turnover.
Hmm. Hmm.
And imagine, this team have done everything to make themselves compatible with world-class kind of product situation. And you would be happy to know that recently they have signed a $10 million contract with Singapore government,
Very nice.
where they would be developing a product which is suitable for Singapore environment. Not that they are taking away, taking same what they've built in India,
Sure.
deploy
Sure.
and
Because it
do
will be
this.
different. Hmm.
Yeah, so they working on a solution which is partially funded by Singapore government.
Hmm.
Heavy lifting done by this company, and then it's a 4-year contract. This is
Hmm.
just the beginning, right?
Sure.
So yes, India is capable, but it takes time. It's not easy. It needs resources. It needs capital. It needs a lot of hard work. So
Hmm.
India is capable. India is deploying a lot of interesting solution outside India. And this company which I'm talking about is called Gen Robotic, based out of Kerala, right? So coming from small town, small state, and doing wonders. So this is the potential of one small place. Now you imagine India is too big. We'll
Hmm.
have many such good stories to talk about.
Sure. Sure. So coming back to this kind of a startup, like what are some of the early signals that you look in the early stage founders, which founder themselves doesn't know, and which you think it's a fundable? Because in this particular case, you said they just had plywood and things like that. I mean, they didn't even have the proper equipment. So how did you decide upon funding them?
So, it's a mix of several things. It's more, about one's experience to, you know, identify that one trait which makes team, differentiated than others,
Mm-hmm.
right? In many cases, there's all product-led or deep tech companies are technocrats, right? They are very good in building product. They're very good in coming out with technology, but in many cases, they will find it difficult to how to price also,
How
right?
to? How to?
uh, Price the product, right? At
Okay.
what cost they should sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will be not appropriate to start judging them on that, but it's more important to judge on their ability to come out with what they're talking about, right?
Okay.
With experienced folks, you can still, take that risk. But when, a team like this, fresh out of college, you
Mm-hmm.
know, leap of faith and your luck has to work, on your side from investor perspective. But I think from our perspective at the fund level, we definitely, look for certain qualities, right? Their ability, their knowledge on the subject matter, how compatible they are. Do they, show leadership quality or not? Are they one man show or they are able to build team, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to build a team of, R&D folks and guiding them to come out with something, which you can sell in the future. And, again, coming back to the same example, they have come out with so many innovative product. They got two breakthrough product which are helping, rehabilitating people with mobility issues. Now a company which is
Okay.
building robot in manhole, the
Mm-hmm.
R&D team, leveraging the, learnings of that product and building something which is, helping mankind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they first solved the problem for lower part of the body. Now they're working on the upper part, which they will be unveiling, very soon. So I think from our perspective, we try to look at whether team is capable or not, how knowledgeable they are, what kind of qualities they carry from leadership perspective, uh, you know, can they build team or not? Do they have relevant experience? What kind of network they have? What kind of, advisors they have, brought on board? Are they willing to, accept suggestions or not? So there are, mix of several things which, help us evaluate. And then as you move on, we need to also look at compatibility because, it's in a long journey. It's not that, in 2 years we'll see quick around, just take 2 minutes Maggie. No, it's not. It takes time and you have to leave those relationships. We should be in position to meet each other, and have a coffee together, even if you have difference of opinion. So,
Yes.
there are several factors which are important, right?
So you have a checklist and then you keep on ticking other than the prototype building. Do you do
So,
that?
so when you are at an idea stage, there is no prototype, but if prototype prototype is there, it makes life easier, but at least you can see what's there. Otherwise, it's all white canvas and you can't see anything.
So prototype is the highest weightage
Yeah,
item
yeah.
vis-a-vis all this
It's
qualities that
easy.
you mentioned.
It's easy. At least if my video is on, you can see whom you're talking to. Otherwise, like, it's talking in dark, right? So if
Exactly.
prototype is there, it's really helpful, really helpful.
Mhm. So what are the sort of deep tech companies that you are most bullish on? Like,
So I may be biased, but I have a bit of liking for semiconductor.
mhm,
I'm very bullish on space.
mhm,
Defense did not to say large market, so can't ignore it.
mhm,
Uh, then biotech is another area, which I'm very bullish on. I think India will come out with many solutions which will not be, good, but also cost effective,
okay.
right? So these are the few of the, segment, I'm very bullish about. And also some developments are happening on quantum side, but too early to say. But interestingly, this is also one space which is evolving.
So including med tech and all.
Yeah, medtech is we have quite a interesting companies in portfolio, and
Okay.
we have made good money on those kind of companies. So very bullish on that as well.
Sure, sure. But why you are interested in semiconductor? Because it has a long gestation cycle and India is still evolving. I mean, it is not yet there, right? Uh, do
Look
you
at
think
today's
India
most.
will be or will be able to make the products at a global scale, especially in terms of semiconductor?
So the answer is yes,
Mhm,
uh, but whether it can be done, during next decade, I would like to reserve my, answer for that. But interestingly, if you scan, semiconductor space and most of the successful company, Indians have played very important role in making those companies.
mhm, mhm,
So we know one thing that, talent is not an issue. We have people, who have that experience. We
mhm,
know that, DNA is same, right? So you can learn. There are many people who are coming back to India, starting. So I'm not, too worried about that. Interestingly, this segment have a tailwind. Government is also very supportive. They have the
mhm,
incentive schemes encouraging
mhm,
people, starting in this space by 2030, maximum 2032.
mhm.
We will have our own, fabrication, plants in India.
Sure, sure.
That will also encourage a lot of, homegrown fabless companies to come out
Mhm.
and, work, which may be, useful to India and outside India. But to answer, your specific question, I think it's too early to comment on that. But I think after a decade or so, we will definitely make an impression on world map.
Okay, okay. And what is the advice that you want to give to a founder like us, early stage founders who want to develop something for semiconductor? I mean, in semiconductor industry,
So my, two
or
bit,
any other founder for that matter. I mean, be it.
my two bit, Poonam on this, many time, people get disheartened when, cycles are long.
Hmm,
And, also deep tech is something new. So you don't have many, examples to look at up.
hmm,
So
hmm,
my suggestion is that don't hesitate in seeking help. If you feel there are people who can, help you, stay focused, don't get defocused, from noises around you. You are working on something interesting and it takes time to, build product. Even child takes 9 months in womb and then it comes out to the world. And then again, you have long journey before they can come to adulthood and start, running and performing in productive life, right? So it's a long journey. Um, you know, uh, Build strong team. Uh, look for talent, within it, outside, and if need be also, get, people outside India, doesn't matter. As long as you're working on something very critical, which can, help coming out with something in it innovative we can be proud of, please go for it. So stay focused, build a network which can be helpful to you on your journey. And today, India is, welcoming and encouraging product-led founders.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that everyone will get funded, but certainly if idea has a potential, there are takers who would be more than happy to back the ideas.
Sure, sure. So that means with all these qualities, we can get the funding from
Well,
from some ventures like yours.
I don't know, but happy to share that we have made over 50 investments, regularly,
50 plus,
regularly been investing 50
50
plus across
plus.
the funds.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice. Hmm. Hmm.
And we are in process of getting started with a new fund, which we
Hmm.
are doing in collaboration with IIT Madras,
Hmm.
which is only deep tech focused,
Sure,
and probably
sure,
will build a portfolio of another 25 plus companies there.
sure, sure.
So we are deep tech focused, and like us, there are many fund who are now getting started in deep tech. So good time if you have an idea worth exploring. There are investors, worth, more than, eager to look at those kind of ideas.
Sure, sure. And Anil, this is the last question. What are some of the red flags that usually you see in the founders and you think that is totally a flop signal, but still they don't get to see that
So,
themselves?
Poonam, there are very common one which I will highlight, and this get repeated. In fact, I used to hear this even 15, 20 years back, and
Mm-hmm.
which is still true, right? Uh, Telling we don't have competition, which is something that means, you haven't done your homework.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't done your homework, then probably, you don't really know your market size, and what kind of market you are entering in. That's one thing which is, puts off many investors,
Mm-hmm.
fumbling with numbers. I think there's nothing wrong in, not knowing something, but, taking things for right. I think investors doesn't like it. Honesty and ethical
Mm-hmm.
practices are something which,
Sure.
investors initially will ignore, but, they are
Mm.
very observant.
Exactly.
And if, this kind of traits are visible, then, it's very difficult to build a, really large organization. You can have initial success, but then, it's a no-no for most of the investors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not able to build team, me, myself, I think is also, you can make out whether person is self-centric or is his team member or not, right? These are something which you can really make out. Uh, what else? List could be long, but I just wanted to highlight, some of the very basic one which can really help people, right? So these are, few of the things. I'll not say that, not able to build business plan, is that because in today's world, when people largely, you
Rely
know,
on AI.
are relying on, open AI and, several other tools,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not difficult to build those.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to judge, right? Initially, you used to do it to test, entrepreneur's ability to build himself, but today you don't need, because there are tools which helps you. So why you should waste your time on that rather than focus on building the, real product? So I
Mm-hmm.
think, at least I have started ignoring all those, gray areas. But certainly for me, what's important is, honesty, integrity, ethical practices, team building, leadership, flexibility, patience,
Mm-hmm.
ability to hold the fort when chips are down, right? In many cases, I've seen, we always hear that story, the diamond was, just one hit away, but you moved out
Mm-hmm.
because, you were tired.
because you
right?
didn't
So,
have
so, so
patience
you know,
or
those
resilience.
kind of qualities, you cannot, put an objective things to it. It's all subjective. So you have to,
Sure.
make your own, judgmental guess.
Yeah.
But these are few of the things which will put me off if I, find those traits.
Sure. Sure. Thank you, Anil, for great
Pleasure, Poonam.
perspective and raising the founders bar high, because now onwards, I mean, after listening to all this, at least the bar will be raised high because the competition is going to be cutthroat, right?
That's true.
Yeah, in
That's
terms
true.
of efficiency in execution, in the
True.
idea, in the founder strength, in their
True.
leadership capability, in their team
True.
building capacity, and so on and
Very
so
true.
forth.
Very true.
So
Good
thank you.
talking to you, Poonam. Thanks
Likewise.
for, such an interesting, questions and taking out, some really meaningful and useful, inferences for entrepreneurs. I hope it helps them and wish everyone a very good luck in building something meaningful.
Pleasure is all ours. Thank you.
Right.
Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Thank you, Anil.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.